Today we have another episode, the second episode of the series where I have a fan come on to the podcast and talk with us about their Pistons fandom, some of their stories, some of their memories, and how they feel about this new young squad moving forward. I think it's going to be a lot of fun today. Make sure you guys stay tuned for today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the podcast on our way to 5,000 subscribers. Or if you listen to this on one of the podcast platforms, go to the bottom, whatever podcast platform you listen to this to, leave a 5-star review. Both of those ways are incredible ways to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So today's episode is our second episode of a new series that I've started on the podcast where I bring on a random fan to talk about their fandom, their stories, some of their memories, how they feel about this team moving forward. If you want to find out how you can be one of the guys to get on, guys or girls, to get on to the podcast in one of these episodes, again, I told you guys this last week, but I'll tell you again. Either tweet me at Kuka Hill, DM me, or comment in the YouTube section down below in the comment section. Let me know your best or most interesting Piston fandom story, and each week I'm going to pick the one I think is most interesting and one that catches me the quickest or I think really highly of. And we'll try to pick one each week. Again, there's so many of you guys reaching out that I'm not going to be able to get to all of you. Don't take it as a slight, but I have to only pick one. It just is what it is. But today we have a fan that I actually think this is really cool. I think his story is really cool. I think you guys are going to really enjoy hearing it too. And this one is Mario Della. He is originally from Brazil, but apparently recently moved in the last few years to Canada so he could be closer to the Detroit Pistons. Mario, how are you doing, man?
Hey, Q. First of all, man, I'm honored to participate, bring a little bit of my story and how much I love the Pistons. The reason why I moved to Canada and Windsor, particularly like to be close to Detroit and watch the games live and be close to the media and everything related to the team. So, yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. And you guys can find him over on Twitter also at Pistons Brazil _. I believe you said you are one of the admins there.
Yeah, and I also have like my own page. It's at Isaiah Levers BR. So it's a dedicated page to Isaiah Levers. 1 year completing today with Kate. They were drafted. So yeah, follow me there, guys.
So let's get into how you became a Pistons fan. You told me a little bit about it beforehand, and obviously when you DM'd me your story, I saw a little bit of it, but everyone else needs to hear about it. One thing I actually want to point out first, though, is that I've realized that there is a lot more foreign Piston fans than I thought. I've gotten so many messages from so many of you guys from Brazil, from France, from Australia, from Africa. Like, there's so many Pistons fans from all over the place. I think this is probably my favorite series I've done with the podcast, simply because I'm seeing so many people from across the world that are supporting the Pistons, and it's pretty crazy to think about. But Mario, go ahead and tell us, how did you become a Pistons fan?
So I think everything started, well, I'm 33, first of all, and everything starts in 2004, actually. I'm not going to lie, I'm not that old to follow the Bad Boys. I was 1 year old, 2 year old, so I couldn't watch anything from the Bad Boys. And living in Brazil, a place that like soccer is the major sports everywhere, the media just cover soccer. Watch the 2004 finals was like was changing the directions in my life. Like everybody supporting the Lakers, all the media talking about Shaq, Kobe, like how easy would be them to swap us. It was crazy. And I'm always supported the underdogs in my life. And watching that team making on the third game, like holding the Lakers with 68 points was just unbelievable. So definitely 2004 was a mark in my Pistons life. I got passionate about the team. Watching Hip Hamilton, like it's unbelievable. Like the mid ranges, Chauncey Billups cooking the Lakers all games was really like a big mark. And what Big Ben did with Shaq was just amazing, like speechless. So that was everything happened in 2004. And then moving forward, like the media really got scared with what the Pistons did in Brazil. The media in Brazil, like honestly, it's very focused on athletes. So if LeBron James is doing something, it's everything about LeBron. It's Shaq, Kobe at the time. It's just about Shaq and Kobe, not even about a team. And we were not like the media team. We were not the hyped team at the time. So that was cool to watch, like them doing what they did with the Lakers.
So I want to ask you something. So obviously being over in Brazil, you probably weren't able to catch many Piston games. How many games were you able to really watch per season? Like I'm assuming just like the big time event games, possibly.
Well, like on cable TV, I could watch like basically all the playoff games. And honestly, at the time, I don't know, because 2003 was also like a good season. They probably broadcasted about like 6-8 games from the Pistons on TV. But all the playoffs, all the Eastern playoffs was broadcasted, so I could watch like all the games.
Okay, cool. So tell me this before we get into what brought you over. Obviously, how it happened with bringing you over to Windsor. Who was your favorite player on the Going to Work team? If you had to pick one.
Oh, definitely Rip Hamilton. I love old basketball. I love mid ranges. I love how you can cook a defense like with a good mid range, like attacking like the rim, and it's definitely something incredible. So Hip was my favorite, but I think the entire team, like for everybody who watched those guys playing, and there is no way you don't love all of them, honestly.
Fair enough. I know Rip was my favorite. When I first watched the team, my first memory is Rip because of his mask.
Sure.
The mask is what got me when I was a kid, and he instantly became like one of my favorites. As soon as it was like my first game ever. I saw him with the mask, and I was like, "That's super cool."
Yeah, and I think I miss that style on today's NBA, man. I really miss that.
Yeah, Rip definitely was his own type of style. Yeah, I don't know if we'll see someone like Rip again coming off the screens, taking a bunch of middies like that. But let's get into some more of your story. So you watch the 2004 team, you see them beat Shaq and Kobe, you become a fan of the team, you love the team. Fast forward, I believe, 12 years later, and you tell everybody what happens 12 years later after that.
Well, 12 years after 2004, we know what happened. Like, we just got in a terrible situation. The Pistons stopped it to be broadcasted. It was very hard to follow the team. Like, not on TV anymore. The internet at the time was not what we have today. Pretty hard to follow. And even myself at the time was kind of like basketball was aside. Like, I was more into soccer and all this stuff. But then when the internet started to get back again, like be closer to US at a time, then I started to follow as much as I could with life, work, and if coming from a different country. Like Brazil is different than here. Like sports are not like what we see in the US and Canada. So I couldn't follow too much, to be honest, until I really decided to move.
And you moved to Windsor because of a college, correct? You moved there because you got accepted into a college?
Yeah, I was accepted in 3 colleges in Canada, and I decided to when I saw the options, like one was in Alberta, like freaking cold. Not that here is not cold, but when I saw Windsor and I see, oh my God, I'm 15 minutes from Detroit. I'm 35 minutes, 40 minutes from the Palace of Auburn Hills at the time. I said, no, I have to go there. And then I moved because of the college for all the immigration process. And then I had my first Palace of Auburn Hills experience 1 week and a half later from the day that I arrived. I couldn't resist. I had to cross the border and watch a game.
And I believe you said you have the ticket with you, right? You have the ticket for your very first game?
That's gold. That's gold. That's
Look at that. There you go.
That's my first Palace of Auburn Hills games. December 6, 2016, Detroit Pistons and Chicago Bulls. And we won that game. That's amazing.
There you go. That's amazing, man. I love hearing that. That's super cool that you got to come over here. You got to go over to Windsor. You're right next to the Pistons now. You get to support them. And it's really cool that it started in 2004. again, just I think it's so cool how I've had so many people, obviously including yourself, from overseas that have found. I've realized there are Piston fans. So many of them out there. And it's kind of crazy to think about it. So your story I think is super super cool. And I'm happy that you get to follow along with the team more now, and I'm happy that the team finally has given a product on the floor and some team and some players that are worthy of following. To be honest, now that is
Yeah, for
more.
sure.
It's interesting and it's fun now. Um, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Mario's story as a Pistons fan. But first, I have to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way of checking out all your sports betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for our sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you absolutely covered. So head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends and action today. And if you head over to BetOnline.net right now, you go to the basketball section, you'll see that you are already available or capable of betting on who you think is going to win the championship next season. I don't know. I really don't agree with who they have #1 here. They have the Boston Celtics at the highest odds to win at plus 400. I don't know if that's because of the recent rumors with KD possibly going to Boston. I don't know, but I don't know how I feel about that, man. I think the Milwaukee Bucks probably should have the highest odds. But anyways, that's the kind of thing you can do, though, over at BetOnline.net. Head there today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends and action today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. We're on our way to 5,000 subscribers. Or if you listen to one of the podcast platforms, go down below, leave us a 5-star review that way. Both of those ways are great ways to support the podcast. So Mario, you come over in 2016. You get to go to your first game at the Palace. Real quickly, before I get into my question that I wanted to ask you, actually, another thing just popped in my head. Have you been to Little Caesars Arena yet?
Yeah, I've been many times already. Yeah, I was on the draft party, by the way, with Jaden Ivey. It was pretty cool, man. It was unbelievable. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the experience when the Kings they drafted Keegan Murray. Little Caesars Arena just went down, man. It was so fun. I have on my Twitter the videos like me reacting to choosing Jaden Ivey and me reacting to Keegan Murray in Sacramento. It was a lot of fun, man.
All right, so you come over in 2016, you get to go to a Palace game. You say that you've already been to multiple LCA games.
Yep.
Which arena did you like the most? I don't know how many games you went to at the Palace, but you got to go at least once to both of them. Which one do you feel like you're feeling more?
I think I went to 4 to 5 games on the Palace. Man, like the feeling I had like every time I entered the Palace was just nostalgic. Like it's just like being part of something much bigger than just a team. Like its environment is the culture on Palace. I love Little Caesars Arena. It's beautiful. It's very modern. It's an amazing arena. But for sure, like I really miss the Palace. Like it's history, right? Like see everything we've had there, like with all the championships, like all the athletes, all the players who played for the Pistons in the story, like it's crazy. But Little Caesars is an amazing venue for everything, honestly, and we are really already in the future compared to other arenas in the NBA. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think both of them are really cool. I very much liked the Palace. I grew up going to the Palace, obviously. The one thing about the Palace that I simply just like more than LCA is the fact they have parking spots in their right outside the arena. Having to park at Little Caesars Arena, dude, it's so frustrating for me. It gets my nerves so quick.
Man, I have a place that I always park. It's kind of like my way to go. But even though I always walk because I'm never willing to pay what it costs there.
Yeah, no, yeah, I understand that. But since you've been to Little Caesars Arena, I might as well ask you, how do you feel about the downtown scenery? You have the Lions Stadium, obviously the Pistons, the Red Wings Stadium, at the Tiger Stadium. Basically, they're all just right there. Yep. How cool do you think that is? Do you think it looks nice?
Man, that's incredible. Honestly, I never been to other venues like that in any place in US or even here in Canada. What we have in downtown Detroit, it must be explored. Like we have the Ford Field, we have LCA and the Red Wings. So everything is close. Comerica Park, everything it's kind of like walking distance, right? So it's definitely amazing. There's bars. You could find everything in downtown Detroit, and it really upsets me like when people that are not from Detroit, they say, "Oh, there's nothing to do in Detroit. Why players are going to Detroit?" Come on, man! It's a beautiful place. Lots to see. Lot of places to go. It is amazing, honestly.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's going to love to hear that, especially from someone who's not from Detroit, someone who came
Yeah.
over and got to visit Detroit and got to see all the beautiful things about it. And now you feel this way still about it. Detroit has a lot of things to do. Detroit's a very beautiful place, especially the downtown scenery, especially at night. I think at night, the downtown scenery just looks so cool and so dope.
Yeah.
But
And
I think everyone.
And honestly, Q, like if you cross the border and you see from Windsor, like all the skyline of Detroit, it's amazing. It's a sightseeing that I never get tired about it. Like sometimes I just need to relax. I park my car in front of the riverfront and I see like all the Detroit buildings. It's amazing. I love Detroit as much as I love the Pistons. It's what I am, and I love that.
Absolutely, man. I love to hear it. So you said that you were at the draft party. Tell us about what happened there. Go ahead and tell the whole story about Keegan Murray, then Jaden Ivey, etc. Tell us all about it.
Man, it was crazy. I have a good friend who gave me the tickets for the Detroit part for the draft party, and I was on the same day. He gave me on the same day. I say, "Oh, I have to go." And then when Adam Silver started to say like pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, everybody like just cheering for the new kids going to the NBA. Everybody clapping hands, all good. But when the Sacramento was on clock, the LCA was just quiet. What Sacramento would do? Then when Adam Silver like said Keegan Murray, it looked like a championship for us. Like everybody was, "Oh yeah, Keegan Murray on Sacramento. We're gonna get Jaden Ivey." And like when we selected Ivey was just unbelievable. Like my reaction to that, it's insane. I was really Jaden Ivey was my guy like since the beginning when we got the pick 5. Always been.
So, do you think that you said that you went to multiple Palace games, you went to multiple LCA games, and you obviously were able to go to the draft party, which I'm sure was very cool. Was the draft party, you think, your most fun experience going to, comparing it to going to a Pistons game? I don't know if you went to one of the playoff games with Blake and against Milwaukee. What was the most fun experience or fun moment that you have? Is it the draft night party?
I don't think so. I think it's my first time on the Palace on this game in December 6th, 2016 versus the Bulls. Was definitely my most incredible memory. I also remember my first game on LCA. It was Pistons and Pacers too. The Pistons also won, so I have like a good streak. It was really good. But then I just watched a lot of losses on the LCA in the last couple of years. But it was these 2 games that really reminds me great memories.
Okay, so obviously we're going to talk about the team that they have now and some of the young players that they have now moving forward. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later because like you mentioned earlier, you started becoming a fan in 2004. You ended up moving over to Windsor in 2016. You got to go to a game immediately. You got to go to multiple games. Between that area, there was like you mentioned, there was a down period for Pistons fans. If you could pull one positive, maybe like a favorite player that you had during that time that made it fun for you to watch, or a favorite moment, something that was, even though they had some up and downs, there was a moment or some things that happened during that time that kept you, excited to be a fan. What was one of those things? Is it, was Andre Drummond a favorite player of yours? Was it Reggie Jackson, Blake Griffin, etc.? Like what was it during the downtime that kept you being a Pistons fan during those late 2000 or mid 2010 years?
Yeah, I think it was definitely when we drafted Drummond. Andre was a guy who was always appreciated in Brazil for his rebound skills. The broadcasting and media was always talking about how good Andre Drummond was as a center, like that could do like many reboundings, and that was definitely Drummond. After that, honestly, I was never like a big fan of what Stan Van Gundy did for many reasons, right? Like it's getting like players with some experience, but they were never into like being winners on the NBA. So I wasn't too much. And regarding Blake, I really appreciate what Blake did in our playoff season, 2018, 2019 was pretty cool. Like I really appreciate it was his best career. It was his best season in his career, right? Like in numbers on how important he was for the team. But I always remember like a photo from Blake leaving the plane and coming to Detroit. I remember his face, and that really upsets me. Like because Detroit and the Pistons is I really want to be there, and I see that in our team right now, and I never seen that on Blake. So I would say probably in this gap was Andre and a little bit of Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson never upset me so much, but well, we've had like Henry Allenson, John Wall, those guys that well, I wish them a good luck, but far away from here.
Far away from here. There you go. When we come back, though, we'll talk about some of the the players that we have now, like you said, that want to be here and love the city and bought into the city and the team. We'll talk about them when we come back. But first, you guys got to hear from some of our sponsors. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the podcast. We're on our way to 5,000 subscribers. Or if you listen to one of the podcast platforms, go to the bottom of whatever podcast platform you're listening to this to, leave a 5-star review. That's another great way to support the podcast. So, Mario, you talked about how, you feel like playing for the Pistons or playing for a Detroit sports team in general. You have to want to be there. You have to want to be in Detroit. You have to want to buy into the city, love the city, that kind of thing. And you feel like that this team finally has. What is it about this team that has shown you, or what was actually, let me change that question. What do you think was the first domino that went down that made you feel like, okay, this team's starting to get to where it needs to be? This team's starting to buy into what Detroit basketball is supposed to be about. Was it the drafting of Cade? Was it simply the hiring of Troy Weaver? What was it?
I would definitely say getting Troy Weaver. Like when Troy started and he got guys like Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart was just, okay, I'm feeling some guys coming in and they really want to be here. Like, if you think about it, like we got Isaiah on 16, we got Bay on 19. Those guys, they never thought they could be like on a top 10 on that draft, 1920, right? So when they got drafted by the Pistons, like I could see on them, like, okay, I really want to make this franchise pop. I really want to be there. I don't see that much in Killian, maybe because he's a little bit different. He's a little bit shy. I never see him with the other guys. It's rare to see him in footage with Steele, with Bay, with Cade. Now we're seeing more, so I'm expecting to see the same behavior and the same performance from Killian. But I think Troy Weaver was really like when we changed that mentality. Like Troy Weaver was definitely like the guy who brought this. I want to be in Detroit again.
So who would you say is your favorite player from this young squad, this young core? Obviously, I think, your answer may be Cade. I think everyone's answer, a lot of the people's answers will probably be Cade Cunningham. So if your answer is Cade Cunningham, you can talk about Cade, but then also tell me about some other players that maybe that you really believe in, that you really like, that brings you a lot of excitement and joy watching as a Pistons fan. I think I may know one of them. I mean, you have an account dedicated to Isaiah Livers. It sounds like you're very high on him.
Yeah.
But go ahead and tell us about some of the players that you really enjoy watching.
Man, I'm gonna say to you like probably Sadiq Bey. Sadiq Bey is my favorite player on the current squad. Like he's a guy that he changed so much from his first season to the second. Like the way that he's attacking the rim, it's totally different from first season. He's starting to get some buckets, like even more and more. I think he works hard, man. He's a guy who's always on the gym. He's always practicing. He's always improving his mechanic for shooting. So I love guys who hustle hard. So that's why I think Sadiq's my favorite player. Of course, it's Cade. Well, I see on Cade like a kind of Cade is the guy who is going to make everything different for us. He's a guy who in the last 10, 12 years, he's going to put on Eastern Finals, NBA Finals. And Sadiq is going to be an amazing support. It's like a Batman and Robin thing. I think Sadiq can be this guy, but I'm very excited to see how Jaden Ivey will perform. I don't have too much expectations for Ivy for this first season. I think he's going to struggle a little bit. I think we all have the same thoughts, but definitely he can be amazing in the future and be like maybe our second guy and Sadiq become our third. Yeah, but Sadiq is my favorite.
I mean, Sadiq, the Athletic told us that he was up in the mountains. They told him
exactly. That's
they
crazy, man.
They told him to stop, to take it easy, not to practice, go take some time off, and he went up in the mountains like a crazy man.
He's practicing with less oxygen, man. That's crazy. That's how much this guy want to be in Detroit, right? That goes to what I'm saying. Like he's practicing. He want to be our guy. That's awesome.
No, yeah, he has an incredible work ethic. He wants to be good. He wants to be great. And that's one of the things that definitely will make Sadiq a fan favorite amongst a lot of fans. And I think Sadiq, probably right after Cade, I think Cade is the most fan favorite, and I think right after Cade is definitely Sadiq. And I think a lot of it has to do with his work ethic and how much he wants to be great. Speaking about those guys, obviously, I think the offseason is pretty much wrapped up. They do have $10 million currently still left. I don't know if they're going to use it at all. I don't think the Kevin Knox signing has been made completely official yet, so I know he'll take up some of that money. We obviously have a little bit of funkiness going on with the front court. I don't know if they maybe move Kelly Olynyk somewhere else to try to free up some spots there. But overall, it feels like the roster is basically set. The offseason has basically been, finished. They're basically done. How do you feel about this team going into this upcoming season? Do you think that, and we've talked about this on the podcast a few times, that I feel like Troy Weaver basically showed everybody and showed Pistons fans that, hey, I believe in the young players on this team. Instead of going out and trying to get win-now players, I want to give these young guys another year to grow together, another year to develop. And if they lose, so be it. If they win, so be it. But our belief here is that we believe in these young guys, each and every one of them. We want to give them the best chance to improve and become a part of this thing moving forward for the years to come. Do you think that will result in, probably another top pick, but so be it? Or do you think that they actually have a chance to push for more wins in the win-loss column?
Man, I think we do have a chance. It all depends like how this team will adjust, right? Like we don't know how Jaden Ivey's going to be on his first year. He can have like an amazing year. Livers can become like the 3-and-D player that I really looking to see. Like we don't know yet, right? We need to see how the season will start. Like I don't think we're gonna see too many moves anymore on the off season. I'm really hopeless regarding like trade Kelly Olynyk, Kevin Knox. Like what are we gonna do with Kevin Knox? Like I don't see too much happening. I can see us like being between like 30 to 35 wins this season. Definitely, I think we can get that. Of course, I'm hopeful to get more than 40. That might happen. It might. Like it's a small percentage. Like if you think about how compared to in our conference, like the Eastern Conference is pretty hard. But let's see. But I believe we're gonna be between 30 and 35 wins. I'm really excited to see how Bagley is gonna fit on this team. Duran really had honestly, draft Duran and put him already practicing with the first squad. I don't see Duran going to J League. I see people talking about that. I don't see a 13 pick like playing on the J League at all. And with the talent he has, I really hope to see him like getting minutes from the bench, still moving to 4. Well, there's a lot to see. Like it's a question mark right now. Like we need to see the season starting, like how Troy Weaver is going to play this rotation. That's a mystery, right? We don't know what Troy Weaver. Sorry, man. Casey. What Casey is going to do with this rotation? Like it's a mystery. We might start with 2 at 4, 2 at 5. I would love to see Livers getting minutes on the first team too. So yeah, we need to see what's going on.
All right, so I think this will be the last question I ask you. And again, I want to thank you for coming on, man. This is a lot of fun. I absolutely loved your story, how you became a Pistons fan, your dedication to whole move to Windsor and be right next to the team, immediately moving to Windsor, and then immediately after going to your first game. I think all this is really super cool and shows just how much joy that the Pistons bring to some fans, and how there's Pistons fans not just in Detroit, but you can find them all over the place. And I think that's really cool. But I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we can wrap up the podcast. the Pistons have like a 7 to 8 man young core right now. There's a bunch of young guys under the age of 23, 24 years old. I think Bagley is probably the oldest one you would consider part of the young core, and he's 23, 24.
Mhm.
Of all of the young core guys, who do you think is the biggest X factor of all of them that will that can change the future, possibly this season, or if you want to look further down the line? Who do you think is the X factor of all of these guys? I know Cade is the franchise guy. Do you think it's Jaden Ivey? Do you think Ivey is the X factor? If he can swing, if he can become a star, he swings the Pistons ceiling. Do you think it's Sadiq, Isaiah Stewart becoming a 4 if he can actually shoot? Do you think it's Killian Hayes if he can finally find a way to become the 7th overall pick that he was drafted at? Who do you think it is?
Man, I think the backcourt is our key. It's gonna be Cade and Ivy, with of course like the support from Sadiq, Steele, Bagley, but definitely Cade and Jaden. They can be amazing. Like we need to see how they're gonna fit. Is what I said. It's gonna be a mystery. Rotation is gonna be a mystery, but Cade and Jaden Ivy, it's gonna be like the backcourt of the future for the entire NBA. Definitely, they have so much talent. It's something that the entire world would stop to see them playing for sure.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to be really excited to see them two play, especially for years to come. I've heard a lot of people from outside Detroit say that Detroit's going to be high on their league pass teams, and a lot of it has to do with the backcourt of Ivy and Cade. So Ivy definitely is one of the X factors who could change this team's future if he becomes a star, and him and Cade can actually become one of the best backcourts, if not the best backcourt in the NBA in the future. Who knows what the Pistons can do, man? Who knows what they can do? But that's all I've got for you guys today. Mario, I want to thank you again for coming on, man. This was a lot of fun. You guys can go check him out over on Twitter at PistonsBrazil_. Again, thank you for coming on, man. If you guys want to find a way to get on the podcast and get on one of these episodes when a fan comes on and talks about the Pistons and your fandom, again, send me your best or most interesting Piston fandom story. You can tweet me at Kuka Hill. You can DM me it. You can comment down below in one of the YouTube videos. I'm searching through all of them. Again, I can't pick everybody. There's a lot of you reaching out, but I'm going to try to do my best at picking what I think people are going to want to hear. I think everyone really enjoyed hearing what Mario had to tell us about his story, how he became a fan, and where he's at now. I think that was really super dope. I really enjoyed recording this episode, man, and again, appreciate you coming on. But until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace out, everybody, and stay safe.